Okay. So here tonight are me, Sarah Kammer, Carl Luck, and Anna Lockwood. Um, if you saw the agenda, what I wanted us to do was to look at the map. The biggest thing that we have to deal with to make recommendations for are these site neighborhoods that are location 0. Um, and did everybody get a chance to look through them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna just share this now. Um, okay. So you can see that now, right? That's the only thing I'm sharing.
Yep.
Okay. So when I click on 0 over here, it sort of elevates these red areas. And what I'm hoping that we can do is figure out what these should be. I think, and I'm zooming out too far. I'm sorry if I'm making you dizzy.
Sarah, just a comment. If you want to look at the red, it works best if you unclick the other ones, right?
Oh, I have that one selected still. Thank you. Yeah. So I have just the red selected now, and it pops out a bit. Now some of these are obvious to me that they're like the lakes, right? Um, but then when I look around, like if you go to this center, can you see my cursor?
Mhm.
I look over here, and this is Royal Fern Drive. It's a budding Royal Fern Drive. It's a land site index of 0, and it says the address and of course all that information.
Right.
But it doesn't tell me why it's 0.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so we're tasked with trying to help the Board of Assessors to assign these properties something. Like, are they site index? Are they site index 1? Are they site index 2? Site index 3? Site index 4? I don't know. And there are 49 of these properties.
Oh, but I made the leap that 0 is a site index because it has clearly some characteristics, right? All the condos are in there, all the apartments are in there, and open land, right?
Yeah, so I initially thought 0 was open space. Um, and then, so what I think may have happened with this land, and I'm just putting it out there that perhaps it was open space, vacant land for some time, but maybe some of it was protected as open space.
Mhm.
Maybe some of it wasn't, or was taken out of open space, out of chapter lands, and then was purchased, and it never got assigned a site. Um, if it's condos, it really, I think that falls under commercial / residential, um, but I'm not sure. So there's that
But
issue. Go
and
ahead.
there are two different types of condos. There are the
Yeah.
commercial ones,
Yes.
and then there are ones like from Hickory Hills, the Woodlands, were privately owned.
Yes.
Um, and those are considered condos versus something like Cortland, which is a neighborhood, and they have a condo association, a HOA, but they're not, in a condominium kind of thing, like multiple households per unit, right?
Yeah. So I am wondering if there's anyone who'd like to go through this list of wondrous red spaces and figure out whether they're open space or condos, and if there are any parcels that actually are not condos, not open space, but are residences. Because those in particular are ones that should be assigned a site index anywhere from 1 through 5.
Is there a site index for open space?
I thought it was 0 until I
Okay.
looked at this. Because the open space are chapter lands, they're not taxed.
Right.
And that's why I think
Are they all?
that these are the ones that some of them were chapter and now aren't anymore.
I went through many of these today,
Yeah.
trying to see what was in there, try to develop some definition of what you would be to be in there. Not certainly open, certainly undeveloped lands, we call it undeveloped in the open space. But there seems to be a lot, if not all, the open, undeveloped. There's conservation land in there. It's open space. And there may be chapter 61, probably all chapter 61, but I don't think all undeveloped is chapter.
No, I don't think it all is either. I like when I'm gonna zoom into around Hickory Hills Lake. Like if I look over at this street right here along Townsend Harbor Road, I know these are residences and I know these are small parcels that go with these residences. And I know right now these are definitely miscoded in this file. And I think they are because they're owned by, like, there was just a challenge with entering the parcels and merging it with Mass GIS.
Yeah, no,
So like
We
I
have
know
this-
those.
we have the same exact situation on Lake Shirley. Matter of fact, I own one. And when the road, we had one piece of property, and when the road divided the property, for whatever reason, the assessors created 2 lots. There's a lot that's undeveloped, which is what's on that side of the road. So, like I say, we have the same situation here. They're not developed, and they are separate lots. So they are, so to me, they fit in here, because if this is undeveloped land, then it fits in 0. It's not really residential because it's not buildable.
So if it is owned privately, it's still considered residential. If it's in a residential zone. 0 would be what I would be considered a non-taxable land.
Okay, I get, we certainly could recommend to define it that way, but it certainly isn't what it is, because it's, right, there's apartments in here, there's, like you said, the whole development on the Hickory Hills is in here. You know, the
I'm
apartments.
having a hard time hearing you, Carl.
Oh, let me shut this fan off. I'm trying to,
It's just breaking up periodically, so I'm just
I,
struggling a
I,
little
I
bit.
think it's because of the fan. I'm trying to prolong the life of my 15-year-old computer. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah. So, at least from what I saw today, and again, this may be a catch-all that we gotta somehow pull stuff out of it, and but it seems like we should, decide if we want to define what's in there, and then it's painful but relatively easy to go through and pull the stuff out and put it in some other category, assuming we've defined what the other categories are.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a can of worms if you've looked at it, right?
Oh yeah, in a lot of detail.
I mean, the green, it's a massive 3, right?
Yes.
And then what is 4 supposed to be?
Four, all I can tell you is from looking at a lot of samples,
Yeah,
I can tell you generically pretty much what's in there.
yeah.
Four is Hickory Hills off lake. So the Hickory Hills land that's not on the lake looks
That's
like.
what I thought. Well, and that's true for some of it, right? But then if you scroll towards the west, we've got
on Hickory Hills?
Uh, I'm over by Whalum right now.
Oh, yeah, but now I'm saying 4 looks to be the Hickory Hills off lake.
So so it looks like that, but then there's these parcels here and some parcels here that are not for. That I know are Hickory Hills.
I think in every one of these, nothing, there's always an exception from what I looked at. So I'm just saying generically, the big lump is Hickory Hills off Lake Whalum area.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
see that?
yeah, all those little streets up in Whalum, those are in there.
Those are in there.
And then for some reason, there's a few lots over on Leominster Shirley Road that are in there.
Let's see, down here.
Yes. You see those 2 blues down in the corner, left corner?
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and it probably is all correct, and might help us to
Well, and
evolve a definition of what's supposed to be in there. But
well, this part right here, these are definitely residential properties.
right.
And then this, I have no idea like who owned like this parcel right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this is a 45. This is some commercial or industrial. I just made them gray because we're not even touching those right now.
I was gonna ask you, Sarah, what are, like, I understood there are 5 neighborhoods,
There are
but then you,
yeah. So can
and
I,
then,
Well,
can I
no,
tell you what they are?
there's 7, right?
Well, we've got 0, which has
no man's land.
no man's land. 1 is lake, 1A is lake, 1B is lake from the past 2 years.
Right.
2, it looks like these were subdivisions at some point, making a smaller neighborhoods, but there's no real explanation of those. Like if you look along Lancaster Ave, for example, these are those tiny properties abutting the road, but
Right.
also Massapog Pond. 3 seems to be the default.
Everything else.
Yeah. 4 seems to be some kind of lake adjacent, except, or maybe they have rights to access a lake. I don't know exactly, but they seem to be neighborhoods that are near some of the lakes, as
Gotcha.
best I can see. And 5, I don't know the logic by 5, except they seem to be near some commercial zones.
Well, they're almost all
Or
on Route
busy
2A.
roads.
It's like a busy road.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
I
the
think those are,
Because-
yeah, I think those,
Yeah.
when I saw, I thought they were commercial.
Yeah.
Well, they're residences, but they're on a busy road.
Yeah. So
Well, let me just go back. The interesting thing about the 5 is it seems to be commercial, but if you zoom in around West Townsend Road, like Mass Ave, if you zoom in a little bit, the big lump of purple there is actually out, like go to a little bit east. This, yeah, right there, this is all property.
yeah,
Like there is nothing commercial right there.
nothing
on the
commercial
right
right
side.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of them are
Is
not
this the old-
commercial.
Is this the old stone farm? No, that's
Mm. Yeah, no, this is
Yeah,
like the
could be.
stretch.
Could be.
yeah. Oh no,
No, well, that might be the little
Yeah.
what they're developing now, but
yeah,
the condos, the development,
they're right in here.
Riley Road, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Stone Farm. I think you're right, Sarah.
Yeah,
So they should have been different color. 3,
yeah, right.
all right.
So
Well, I think to me 5 is the one of them that makes the most sense because it's on our highest traveled roads, which would certainly have a generic kind of value effect due to the living on a highway, kind of, right?
Should
So
we start writing some of these things out? Because as we start, if our task is to one, address
Yeah.
zero,
Yeah.
we need to
You
put
need the
these,
other ones, I know.
yeah. So should we start writing this down and then
Yeah.
who
So
wants
we're saying 5 is
5 is seems to be residential in busy roads.
residential near busy roads.
Isn't that what you were saying?
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
potentially in a larger commercial district area.
Right.
Not necessarily. If you go out 2A, it's not commercial out there at all, right? Look towards Shirley.
Mm.
So I don't
I
know that the
guess-
commercial is a factor, but is as much as the traffic. I mean, if you look at, what's the road that goes up to Townsend way over on the left of what you're looking at now, the purple? Is that West Townsend Road or something?
Are you talking here?
Route 13?
No, over further.
Over
to-
here?
Yeah.
That's the boundary with sorry, I zoomed that quickly. That's the edge of Fitchburg. It looks like New West Townsend Road.
New West Townsend.
So okay, so can we say that 5 is high traffic areas, not necessarily, perhaps with some commercial around, but
Yeah.
it's still residential.
Yeah, I think that's
So-
accurate, Anna.
And
Okay.
I was listening to that too, and I was wondering if it would help us to see the zoning. Like,
Well-
is this an area where they could develop commercially along too?
So Lunenburg, so I know a little bit of zoning.
Yeah.
We can easily see on the GIS. The zoning is really confusing because they have overlay districts near Whalum.
Mhm.
Then they have the village district, which it can mean commercial, but we really only have a little bit of commercial. Basically, I think what I'm saying is I wouldn't add zoning to
Okay.
this.
I was
Um,
just wondering if they
Okay.
thought that was in the overlay district and that's why the purple, but
Yeah, well, the overlay, if you go near Whalum,
yeah.
the overlay is interesting because most of it is residential, but the part that is the lot that just got sold that's next to El Forno now, that is supposed to be commercial.
Oh,
So they created this overlay district that with a little bit of a spotting zoning.
okay.
I don't, and that was before we moved to Lunenburg even, so more than 20 years ago. How long you been in Lunenburg, Carl?
Oh, goodness. As a resident, probably about 20.
Okay.
Yeah, as a resident, yeah. I grew up here, but on the lake, so.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So that's what we've got for 5 residential near very busy roads.
Right, let's leave it at that. Then I think two, we should, because based on what we have, 2 is the, developments that, the beauty of it is that all these developments that are, I'm not sure it's the beauty of it, but have a you,
These
is
pink
that
ones.
these pink ones, they are all very similar stylistic, and I bet you their values are going to be very similar, and the construction too.
So when you say developments, what do you?
Well,
A new development?
I think like Cortland Circle is a good example. You can think of Butterfly Lane.
Okay.
All these that you kind of pretty much go
Mhm.
into a they had a big lot that they built 10 houses on it. And that's a construction style that probably started happening like in the late 90s
Mhm.
and it's coming up and is always like these colonial houses. So I
Mhm.
think even the stylistic, they're going to be about the same. They're going to
Okay.
have very similar they will look very similar neighborhoods. Their neighborhoods are going to be very much alike.
Okay.
What do
Yeah,
you think, Carl?
Rob's Hill is one of goes into that group, and it's similar. It was developed all the same time,
Right.
maybe, I don't know, whenever it
So
was.
they're new colonial styles in the 90s.
Yeah.
Your recent
It
development,
was
yeah,
late 90s, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
early 2000s.
There's a number,
That
there's a number of
explains a
them.
lot. I was like, what are these pink things?
Well, there's a number of them that I saw that were it's maybe it's synonymous, that are cul-de-sacs.
Hmm.
There's quite a few cul-de-sacs that are in this.
Right, but like Rob's Hill
Index.
is not a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, no, I didn't say they're all cul-de-sacs. I'm saying
Right.
that a characteristic seemed to be coming out that they could also be a cul-de-sac.
Right.
So I agree with that until I look at this pink that's near where I live, okay? The red here I know is open space. These are just two big subdivided parcels. And then I look at here, rolling acres.
Yeah.
But those aren't colonials. They're like
Right, but Rolling
Yeah.
Acres was developed in the 70s based on the style. I'm gonna guess it's like a 70s construction.
rolling acres.
Yeah,
But these
or very early 80s.
but these two properties right here, they're like single family.
Are they
Mhm.
new?
Uh
If you click on it.
yeah. This one
Oh, they're the ones that are up on the hill that are
Yeah.
way up.
yeah, and
Okay.
the driveway's like
Yeah, right.
um modern contemporary style. I don't know. You're built 2023. Yeah. And this
Okay, that's
one, I think this is the one that got subdivided from. Yeah, 1972.
It may be, the rolling acres is a good observation, Sarah. It may indicate the differentiator might be the size of the lots.
Hmm.
Those are all quite small sized lots versus Rob's Hill, which is all pretty decent sized lot.
Hmm.
And
So, well, and if we're saying too is mostly like new colonial style 90s, I mean, and that's the characteristic of it. Cause like down here, this one is, sorry, I don't know what neighborhood this is. I mean, I see Rob's Hill. I don't know what this one is.
Oh, it's Estabrook, I think,
East-
or Easterbrook.
Yeah.
they're off Easterbrook, they're off of
Flat Hill.
It's off Flat Hill, yeah, and it's
and Gilcrest.
it's a no, not Gilcrest.
No,
Gilcrest is the
Gilcrest,
other way.
Goodrich.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a development of a number of substantial houses with a good good
Okay.
amount of land.
And is that much different than Houghton Mill?
I I don't think fundamentally, maybe the lots are a little different, but no, I don't think so, Sarah. That's
So my impression too is like initially I thought, well, things were in neighborhoods until they got said they were put on busy streets maybe, because 3 seemed to be a busy street. Just based on my own experience, I can't cross my street, for example. So it could be if they were in like a 2, which is like it looks like a more secluded neighborhood maybe, and they
It's
go
a
out
cul-de-sac,
onto a
yeah.
busy street, maybe that's why those are 3.
Yeah, well,
Isn't that fun?
yeah, and I think we're going to keep coming back to this.
Yeah.
We're never going to be right or get it.
No.
It's never going to 100% fit. But I think
No.
if we don't come up with some
No, we got to come up with
differentiating
something.
criteria, we'll never be able to.
Yeah.
go
Well,
in.
and there's this two over here that is tiny. But let me see when it was made up. 2017. I mean, I'm wondering if like zone two is just newer development.
Sarah, could you put your cursor there again? I don't know where we're talking about.
Oh, by
Over there.
Turkey Hill.
Great.
I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to,
Yeah. No, it's
to
very
like,
No, I
confusing.
mean,
Right.
this is the exercise, right?
yeah, like why is it this way? And I'm staring at it by myself, going, I really, this doesn't make sense to me. So I appreciate getting the idea that, oh, it could be these cul-de-sacs.
Well, I think,
Sorry, I'm zooming a lot. I hope I'm not giving anybody like
no, you're fine.
I did just eat.
So the other thing we can do as an exercise, and I know we sort of have a light deadline, but if this group
Yeah.
continues, we can continue kind of tackling this little by
Yes.
little if the Board of
Yeah.
Assessors doesn't mind, the assessors, is we start this definition
Yeah.
and we start putting things in, and what it's going to happen is the outliers are going to, with time, by organizing the data, the outliers are going to be obvious.
Agree.
So, if we get a sense, I think the two is what we are saying about two, it fits what's there, and it's still, there are many that are missing to be
Yeah.
added to that.
Yeah.
And once we are done doing that, we'll be able to more easily see the outliers.
Yes.
So that would be my recommendation on how to go about it.
I think that's great. We've got 5 as our residential near very busy roads.
Right.
4, we've got lake adjacent.
Well, but like that area of like, if you zoom in near Whitlam,
Yeah,
where blue is,
it's not lake adjacent, right?
it's
No.
not. So we can go for lake adjacent as we can go for lake adjacent, but that would be removed, which it's okay.
Yeah.
But
They they don't have any particular rights to the lake, right?
no, they don't.
Yeah, I don't think it has, when I look at them and I think of those areas, and may not be politically correct, but what the off-lake Hickory Hills properties have that's in common with these Lake Whalum area properties is they're very small lots, very dated houses. They're lower value units, right? So they have those characteristics in common.
So sort of like nice little cottage houses.
Little cottage houses. That's much better
I
put.
mean, but that's a house style. That's not
Yeah.
a neighborhood,
It's not the land. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but no, yeah, I agree, and I kept thinking of that several times during the conversation already. But what I think what the neighborhood's supposed to do is collect properties of similar value.
Yeah.
So that when you do qualified sales, you're looking at things that are in that kind of a ballpark property, not just the land. Because if it's just the land, then the land is the land.
Right.
It's the neighborhood that
Yeah.
somewhat contributes to value.
I would never see the difference on that is and talking between let's look at the blue near Hickory Hills, like, because okay, these were so within that blue, like I think, Carl, that used to be the case for the land near Hickory Hills, and I think there's still some that applies to that. But when these houses sell now, even if they don't have they don't have, lakefront, they're still like the house that Corinne Scouten just sold. I don't know if you know her. It was a beautiful house with an in-law, and I bet you based on what it's looking, she's probably on the blue, and it has nothing to do with how houses near Lake Whalum is. It's just these properties around here, they're more valuable because the neighborhood is turning more upscale. I mean, there are people near Hickory Hills, they're raising their house and just building brand new ones.
Oh, on the lake, no question. But these are the
Well,
the
I have a
original.
question. Are
Mhm.
these that are off the lake, do they have access to Hickory Hills?
Yes.
they do. Yeah.
So they are technically, like, I would consider them to be actually part of a Hickory Hills neighborhood
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like
with,
they
with
do
lake
have,
access. Not
they do
on
have,
the lake, but lake access.
right.
Hmm.
Um,
It's different than
Yeah.
Lake Whalum,
Oh,
that small community on Whalum
it's
Lake.
definitely different. Yeah. You
Well,
know,
and it could be that it hasn't been revised in 20 something years.
one thing that I was trying to
right.
find, Sarah, that would be very helpful, that would maybe shed some valuable light on all this, is the qualified sales over the years. Because what we're really trying to look, what we're looking for is neighborhoods that can be, from a qualified sales point of view, can be treated as an entity. And when it's out of whack, when the qualified sales says it's out of whack, the whole thing can be adjusted.
Oh, I hear you. I just
So how do
getting
we get?
getting those records, I have no idea where we would get them. We had that previous contractor for years.
Well, even the ones that I know you have that you guys worked on last year. It's
So
just 24, just to start somewhere.
I actually asked for the qualified sales for this year. And I recently got them, and I can share those, of course. But like the previous year, those were like, we have that list that I think I think that list was previously shared with you. And I think I might have linked that onto the spreadsheet for the qualified.
Yeah, I
On
had,
that, I think I have that linked
okay.
already.
Yeah. Okay,
But
because I had that,
those are the only years I have to work with.
If we had 1 year, just as a
Yeah.
starting point, so we could look at
Yeah.
the neighborhoods and the qualified sales.
Yeah.
Because one thing that is when I look at what Becky sent us, saying, sort of what the objectives was and things, is, that you want as few neighborhoods as possible.
Yeah.
And they should be differentiated.
Yeah.
From the valuation point of view, most of these places, I mean, if you look at, I don't know, if maybe you did, if you look at the difference between the zones, most of them are plus or minus 5%, which is less than the margin of error in doing your qualified sales. So they're really not, the way they are now, they're not really giving you much differentiation.
No, I think this has just not been updated since I I really couldn't tell you when it was updated, to be honest.
If that's the case, Sarah, like let's say it's 20 years,
Yeah,
then it does make sense that the areas are in blue
yeah,
matches the Whalum. But like on Williams Drive, I can see what a Williams Drive is from here on, which is in the northern part of the lake. There is that cul-de-sac.
okay,
That's where the house of someone who just moved out of town is, and there are other houses there. Those houses are literally new construction. They're worth twice as much as the house. Some of the houses there are on, Sandy Cove, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, if those houses on Sandy Cove get sold, they get easily upgraded.
yeah,
That's what I'm seeing with the houses that are being sold around the lakes, especially Hickory Hills Lake seems to have a lot of more of these cottages because they have always been this association. Is that when they get sold, they get updated and their prices jump quite a bit.
So, so do you think it would be safe to say that we need to revise the 4 in the future? And maybe what we want our 4 to be is, I don't want to like newly developing community, or I don't
No.
I don't know how to say it correctly. Um, higher end.
Um, I mean, the word I'm thinking is gentrifying
Yeah,
neighborhood.
yeah,
That's what this area on Hickory Hills
yeah.
looks to be is it's unfortunately a neighborhood that's becoming gentrified, and people that were there 30 years ago
Can't
are
stick.
not necessarily the people that are going to be buying these houses in the future, unfortunately.
So how do we want to
I
write
and
that one? I
I
like
don't know, but I think that is what it is.
um trending neighborhood? No.
There gotta be something on Google for that, no?
Yeah. Because I do think it's, I mean, I think I think that, you know, those parcels are being bought up there. Um, I don't remember, like there's like just a couple here. Sorry, I'm not good at zooming.
Okay,
Like
fine.
just random little blue. And I'm guessing, I mean, this is Lake Shirley, right? Do
Yeah. Oh,
these
yeah, I know those houses. Yep.
do they have access to Lake Shirley?
Uh, that, that house that you had your pointer
This
on,
one?
but that
Yeah.
does not. And nothing on that side of the road. There's a road going in front of those properties. So
Hmm.
there's lots that are adjacent to Lake Shirley, which are
Yeah,
to the right.
to the right. Yep.
And those are lake properties.
Right.
Those three up there, the two blues and the red, do not. Well, it's interesting. At least one of them, if not two of those three, do have access through a right of way.
Uh-huh.
So they're not unlike Hickory Hills off Lake.
Okay.
And there are a few, not nearly as many as Hickory Hills by a long shot, but there's 10 or 20 places around Lake Shirley that aren't on the lake. So are not in those 1A, B, C, whatever,
Hmm.
but do have a right of way to the lake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, that that might be more of a thing you could group together is,
Like lake right away,
right away, because
or lake
lake property is lake
not
access, or
not lake
lake access,
lake
I guess.
lake access property.
Right.
What do you
Right.
think, Anna?
I like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think, you bring up a good point about the Hickory Hills and um, the developments and things, but I think the complexity is to update for time is tricky, because yeah, there's a house, improved, and then there's another house and another house, and the houses are being improved, but they're still in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And until they reach some critical mass, the property doesn't get the value of being a more upscale neighborhood just because there's one house in it.
Yeah.
And the minute you upgrade that neighborhood, you've increased everybody's taxes.
Yeah.
right. And although I agree with you, I think, I think for Hickory Hills, we can say that it is an upcoming neighborhood. And there is enough houses there that tells us that. And off Williams Drive and abutting Williams, like I know of a few houses there that are like that. Now, that is not the case for near Whalum.
Yeah.
Going down Whalum Road is highly dense. The houses look about the same. The neighborhood there is not transforming.
So
Just give one more fact, though, just to factor into the thinking here, sweet. Because when we're talking about, a lot of our talking right now is about, zone 4, 2, and then 3. The difference between those zones is next to nothing. the difference is only on the property value, not the house. So it has nothing to do with the house. It is at that high level. And the property is only plus and minus 5%. So zone 2, the factor on property value is 1.05%. Zone 3 is 1, and zone 4 is 0.95. So there is not a big difference
Yeah.
between any three. I mean, I think the state, and Becky might argue, there's not enough difference. Our neighborhoods are too close to each other to hardly even be tracking.
Although, what I would love to see, and this is, getting back to the data that you want, like I want to see like the past 10 years. Like we should be able to see some kind of trend in the qualified sales,
Right.
for these neighborhoods. And I just wonder like where the sales have been for neighborhood 4, where the sales have been for neighborhood 3. Because like if we take a look at neighborhood 4, as we're defining it as maybe lake access property, not on the lake, but lake access.
Right.
And then we look at a place that doesn't really have lake access. If we actually pull those out and separate those,
Right.
what does that actually look like?
Right.
Because we're, our assignments of, the index of 1.05 or 0.95 are artifacts of this, whatever, that doesn't seem to represent what we're thinking right now. So I unfortunately don't have all that data. I would like to have it.
There's one thing that could be a very high level sanity check in terms of how helpful that data would be, I would hope we could go back 10 years or more and simply see what adjustments were made to these factors in each of the areas.
I can tell you I would love to see what that is, but I really having a hard enough time. Like I was working with other people on the exemptions, just figuring out what the exemptions levels were and those the values for asset and income took over a year to find the information in town records. And I want that data, but I'm not sure that I can get it on the timeline of this, but that would be the data we want. It would be.
So,
I don't
on the
even know
flip-
if it's documented somewhere. It should be.
Well,
I think DOR would have it.
So one thing I'll tell you, Carl, which it goes with what you're saying, but it helps us. I'm seeing it in a different way that I think it will help us do this job. So basically what you're saying, there is really a 5% difference, which is within the margin error. It really, the main driver here are the houses, like, and the Williams Drive is a great example. That's 2 roads down from Sandy Cove. The advantage for it is that we can assign these neighborhoods, and if we stay engaged with this group, and Sarah just got elected to a 5-year term.
No, it was only 3, and I'm having questions about that.
But if we start with some logic and start applying that logic to it, as we see data coming, and now we know to keep the data, we are doing things in-house, like, that was a problem that we used to hire these things out, and start mapping the data on top of these neighborhoods, we will see if the trend is holding or not. So I hear you that we can, we would love to have previous data and do a super analysis here, but we can also set ourselves to be successful in the future, which is to create this logic that seems to be what it was meant to be, and start applying and see if that holds true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of a fun Jenga style thing going on here that we're doing, or Tetris.
Right.
I'm confused.
But I think, just after we do this high level assignment and we clean up a little, we will see improvements
Yes.
the data. So
So I think I'm missing something here. What is, keep hearing high level assignment and a deadline and things, and I'm not quite sure what we're talking about.
Oh, well, they would like us to come up with what the zero properties are.
What they are. What do you mean? What
So
they are?
they are not on the tax rolls. So you know how like
They're not on the tax roll?
they're not being taxed. Yeah.
Sure they are.
I can tell you that some of the
zero is not
land
being taxed.
some of the land that is zero, the site factor for some of those properties was zero. So we found some parcels that received no tax bill. We had to sign a tax bill.
Okay, that's alarming and disturbing as a taxpayer resident.
It was
But
not.
I must have looked at 50 of those things today, and I didn't see anything
Yeah. So
that had zero.
so that's what I understood. I might have it through translation wrong.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there were a couple of parcels that didn't have a site index assigned to it. Like it was like our neighborhoods are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have this zero.
But all of every zero, and I say I must have looked at,
Yeah.
I don't know, 30, 40, and they all had a site index of 1.0.
Well, and some of it was vacant land, and then
Yes.
we found it with houses on it. And so that needs to be converted to a 1A, 1B, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Where do apartments belong? I don't see apartments or condos in any of the other categories.
Well, apartments and condos are generally considered commercial.
But in this, so we get rid of them all? We don't look at them?
I didn't say that, but what we're looking at right now are the things that are signed as zero and trying to decide if they're 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. If they should be in commercial, then we'll have to bump them to commercial, but
What is
But-
commercial here?
45, 35, 55. These
Oh,
are
okay.
Right.
C and A, the ones that are in gray.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I guess I'm baffled here. Are you saying that zero as a neighborhood shouldn't exist? That all of those things should be in one of the other?
I think zero is supposed to be open space.
Okay, at least that would be a definition, and we could we could work with that and say, okay, what?
And if it's not open space, it should be assigned 1 through 5. If
Okay.
it is like a single family residential.
Okay. But so do we need to invent or create or define one of those where condos go, for instance?
So condos are residential, but they are under commercial.
No, they're not, Sarah.
Do I have that messed up in my head?
I don't know, but I know we have 3 condos on our lake,
So
and I look them up, and there are residential.
You know what, Jack? Carl, I might have that mixed up in my head.
Okay.
But when we were dealing with tax rates,
Yes.
condos, you don't consider the land when you're coming up with the condo fee or the assessment
I
for
think,
the individual
Sarah,
units. So
the differentiation here, Sarah, is really if these are privately owned or they're being rented out by, so like the condos that are down by Whalum, Lunenburg Arrive, the one right next to McNally Park in Tri-Town, those are all rental units. And
Yeah.
those are considered
commercial
because the way they calculate the taxes is through, they
It's
do a
rent.
profit analysis and all that. But then you have the condos like the Woodlands,
that are
they're
privately owned.
privately owned. And probably the ones that are, so it's not necessarily condo, it's just, you know, developments that are developed for rental, it, and that's it. So
Well,
they are,
and those areas, you know, maybe they're in the, I don't know why they're in zero though, because
and we know
there's,
they're getting, so we just need to assign
yeah,
0 to places, which is good. So let's, my idea is let's keep going. So we got 5,
yep,
and then we got 4,
yep.
which we are saying is, because it's, are we gonna say is upcoming neighborhoods? And then
Um,
try to find a
or
term
or
for
were we
that?
calling it lake access property?
Okay, we can
Are-
call it lake access property.
I'm lost again. Are we coming up with with new definitions of what is in these neighborhoods, or are we trying to come up with consensus on what might be the current definition?
So can I take a crack at this? Because
Yeah,
it's in my head. Okay.
yeah, go for it.
So what I understand is we have this map that we don't know how it was created, what was created, and how certain lots ended up here or there, you know, classified as one or the other. And we're looking back without the information that they have, why they created, and trying to create a logic for what it is. So then when we go to the site index 0, we're going to apply based on the definition we have. And then with time, as a second task, if this group still exists, we can start cleaning up the other neighborhoods. That's what I understand. There's 2 things. We create a logic for what site through 1 through 5 is,
Mhm.
based on what we see historically being. Like we said, you know, 5 is going to be the neighborhoods, the cul-de-sacs that are, you know,
5 is
private.
the residential by the roads, 4 is, or by the busy roads, 4
Right.
is the lake access property.
Right. So we're just creating this logic so to then apply 0 to it. And after that, we can go back and start making these things more logical.
Yeah, because there's
So,
things that don't seem to work. And the
right.
problem is we don't know what the intent really was before.
We
But
can only
but
look.
the 0, I can tell you that and there's always an exception, and I'm sure I didn't find it. But 5, to me, after looking at a lot of properties, is pretty simple.
Yes,
It's undeveloped land, it's condos, and it's apartments.
that's not 5.
I'm sorry, 0, because we're looking to move stuff out of 0 somewhere else, right?
Right.
So zero for the most part is undeveloped land, you were saying, condos and apartments.
Right. That's the probably 90 to 95% of it.
Yeah. So
With condos and apartments, that makes sense to me because the land is not individually assigned to each condo unit.
Yeah, it could make sense. And I mean, it could
Yeah,
be right as it
yeah,
is.
yeah. So that could be right. I the so I guess just the other part is making sure those spots that have houses on them are condos or apartments.
Right. Yes,
Um,
yes,
let me write this
yeah.
down.
So if we, so
Are
if
they in fact condos or apartments?
wait, are you talking about 0 or
0,
Do we have some condos or apartments on zero?
wait, we just talked about 0, about condos are up for rent, that they should be on commercial.
Yeah.
that could be a recommended change, but I don't know that it's necessary or makes sense, you know?
But I think we at least know why they're in zero.
I think so. I think to a large degree, we know why they're in 0, because they're apartments, open space, or undeveloped, or condos of different varieties. Some are privately owned. I mean, there's several condos on this lake that there's a house with that
Yeah, but,
one of the residents own, and they call it a condo, so they get to categorize it as a condo, and it's in that group.
So and so the reason I think they're in that is because the assessment they're being given is not based on the land, it's based on the sales price of those condos or the rental price of the apartments because the land is in common.
Carl,
Yeah, and
where's the condo that you're talking about that is on Lake Shirley?
which one would you like
Well,
to
you're
know?
just saying that there is condo on the lake.
Yeah, there's at least, there's two, uh, there's one, 5 properties from me. There's one in the other lake, but there's at least, I think there's at least 3 on the lake. And they're, one of them, there's 3 buildings on a common piece of land and,
Yeah,
I don't,
I see. I don't think that, like, if you look at the price of a house on Cortland, okay, and I'm gonna use Cortland because we know that's an HOA, like, and that
it's
is
a what?
uh HOA, which I forgot what it stands
I
for,
don't know what that
but
is.
Homeowners Association.
homeowner
Thank you.
association. So a condo is pretty much a homeowners association. You can have a condo in a building with two buildings, like with 2 houses, 2
Yeah.
townhouses, like, so I don't think it's condo. I don't think that's the term, because like houses on Cortland Road, on Cortland Circle are going for the price of houses that
I'll-
are not on that.
Those are
All
two
I,
family.
all I know, Anna, and I think one of them is 120 Sunset Lane. Go look it up. It's a 1 building, 2 units. It's called a condo. It's in neighborhood 0. Right there. Maybe, I don't know. What is that? Is that Lake Shirley? Yeah. 120 Sunset. So if you look at the vision card for that, it calls it a condo. It uses site 0, which is not a lake, it drives me crazy. It's, we have a factor of 2 to 3.5 being on a lake. They're sitting on the lake too, and they use a factor of 1. So,
Right, and I don't think this is right, because
but it is, that's what it is.
no, I understand, but our goal here is to fix it, is to create some logic around neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And because someone has 1 roof over 2 buildings, they still have access to lake. It should be in the same as Arrive Whalum, Arrive Lunenburg. This is a
I don't know the reason
I don't know that we can. I don't know that we can actually tax that land because it goes on the sale price of the unit in terms of condos.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's the weirdness of that system.
I would tend to agree with you, Anna. That's why I say it drove me crazy. However, what I don't know is how it actually is taxed. And by the way it's taxed may be extremely fair and may end up in the same kind of place, just through a different mechanism.
So it is use code 1020. So it is in the
so how do we see
not
that
single family.
whether they pay, Sarah?
So you can pull up their vision card.
You go to vision, yeah.
But
and I
the
did
thing
that
is,
and it's
if they are in as a condo, they have been taxed as a condo. They've received a
Right.
tax bill as a condo. Do I know what that value is right now? No. I do know that all the condos went up like between 40 and 80% last year.
Yeah. When I look at the numbers for that example, it seems the bottom line assessment and therefore tax.
But this is
Seems
showing
fair.
it. Yeah, but it is, yeah, and it's showing the buildings.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so
that's the challenge, right? Which of these things is it? Like this stands out as like what's going on there. So I can definitely go back and say, is this listed as a condo in vision? And if it is, then it is
vacant land, style vacant land.
style vacant land. There we go.
That's not a condo. That's style vacant land,
Yeah, style vacant land.
and that's messed up.
You got to go look at the vision card. That's the problem with this database, is that you need to take this address now, go look at the vision card.
That's true, but I don't have the vision cards.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that you
Like
can't.
this is the best way I could get the pictures of what the neighborhoods were, but I agree.
Right.
Um,
I think we're getting distracted though, 'cause I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think our mission is to look at each property and see what category it necessarily goes in.
No,
So-
I think, yeah,
we
go ahead, Sarah.
we do have to take the zeros that are vacant land, and if there is a house on them that is not a condo, it
Or an
needs to be
apartment.
assigned a 1, a 1A, a 1B, a 2, a 3, 4, or a 5. So we are not
Got
that
it.
far afoot.
So
Got it.
let's not address condos what we calling a condo, because I think that needs to be a,
That's a BOA thing.
That's yes, exactly.
yeah, because, yeah,
No.
Sarah, if I could restate what you said, 'cause I thought it was excellent. We want to look at this, everybody in zero neighborhood.
Yeah.
And if it's not undeveloped land or condo or an apartment, then we need to find out where it belongs.
Yes.
Okay.
all right, so do we have a high level description of what we think two is?
So we said that it looks like that was new development, the new colonial style 90s type
Okay.
stuff.
We got that.
And we found a
Um,
bunch of exceptions to it, but that's a cleanup thing to do another time.
Right, and 5 was the
High traffic.
Large
high
commercial,
traffic,
yeah,
okay.
near busy roads.
And let's go for 4, which is what 4 is are we gonna go with at lake access, right?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
Okay,
No,
No?
I don't agree, because then you'd have to start moving the Whalum district places around, because they don't have lake access.
the Wayland people, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, well,
It's not, they're not all lake
those
access.
two neighborhoods don't match, they're not the same anymore. They
Yeah.
might have been 20 years ago, so one of them needs to not be blue.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think that, okay, and I'm all for looking at that. At what point of the process do we do that? I thought the first step here was simply to deal with
Well,
zero.
we are dealing with 0, but we have to define what 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 are supposed to be, so that if we have a 0, we can assign it the appropriate number.
I would suggest, because I think that's great, Sarah, and that's frankly where I would rather have started than start with 0. But like, I understand there's some driving need to deal with 0. I think to do the other part, which is to identify and clarify and maybe correct the other areas, is a very big task. And I think we would be best served to look at the zeros. If it doesn't belong in 0, see if it comfortably fits in one of the other 4 categories.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
And if it doesn't, then worry about the detail of the category. Well, right now I hear us going into the rabbit hole again of differentiating between two or three different places in category
Okay.
4.
I hear your concern, and I think the only reason we're having that discussion is so that when we do have a 0 that needs to be put someplace, we agree on where we're putting it. Because
Why don't we find them?
We have some sort of definition of 1, 2, 3,
Why don't we
4, 5.
why don't we just do this by step and find those places first?
That is a way we can do it.
And
Oh,
then-
hold on, we're
but-
one number away from
Yeah,
from
we
being
have-
done with this.
we have, as far as I'm concerned, we have 1, we have 2, we have 4. We were saying those were generally lake access property. There's an exception now, which we all agree on, but we're not touching it really.
Right.
And 5 is residential near very busy roads. That leaves
So we just need to define 3 now.
3, which is everywhere else.
Right, which is mostly residential areas, general Lunenburg residential areas.
Yeah, which that will have to be adjusted at some point in life, but we are not touching that today.
Right, so I think I like those. So then we can start working on zeros.
Okay, so how about we find those properties that have houses on them and are,
Let me ask you, do you have this the neighborhood zero in spreadsheet?
I can get it to you in the spreadsheet, absolutely. Let me stop sharing for a minute and find it so I can just send it to you.
Because one thing we can do is as a way to tackle this is divide it and every at least the three of us are here.
Yeah.
We divide and then we become our homework and we can put on the spreadsheet and then send it to Sarah, like Carl and I sent it to
Yeah.
you. And in our next meeting, we can review based on, we can review the work we did. And basically what we need to do is to write it 1, 2, or 3, or 1 through 5.
Yep.
And then we have a meeting, we discuss if that's agreeable. And that's it.
Great.
I like
I
it.
like that plan, thank you. So I can send the spreadsheet. I will send my cliff notes on what we think 1 through 5 are as we understand it for now. Understanding that may change in the future, but we got to assign something.
Right.
And are you guys good for next Tuesday?
I am.
That's nice. It's like next Tuesday. Next Tuesday. Good.
Can we,
Checking
how
with the
many
boss.
lines are in the spreadsheet, Sarah? So we can,
There are a lot of lines, but I can sort it by neighborhood, by site indices. Oh,
I'm just thinking of how do we
Okay.
divide, so then we come back next week with homework done. And we're working on different properties.
so I have to pull up that spreadsheet. I have it, but
Sarah, suggest if you
how
have a
about I just divide
spreadsheet.
it by 3?
Yeah, exactly. Tell us,
I'll tell you how many lines it is when I pull up the spreadsheet, so we don't have to wait for me to find it in my files.
line 1 through something, and then through,
Is-
just tell us which lines we got.
Charles and and Anna's and mine.
All right.
And then if there's something that we don't know, we can just email each other.
Okay.
Sound good?
Okay,
Everybody?
so, yeah, that sounds good. Who gets one, like, are you gonna just put
I'm just going
people's
to
name
divide
on?
it into thirds.
Okay, put
But I'll,
people's
I'll,
name on
hi-
it.
I'll highlight. I'll highlight whose is whose. I'll color code it.
Perfect, okay.
Woohoo. Okay.
And
All right, the last thing, which is on the zero, like what should stay as zero, which we talked about being open and vacant land. Is that what it is?
Apartments and condos.
well,
Well, apartments, we can't say apartments and condos. because,
it is land that is not that we do not collect taxes on. Well,
Well,
I
we
was
do
saying
collect
this wrong.
taxes. Don't say
Well,
that.
no, it's open. It's I'm not explaining this well. Like for a condo, for apartments, and for open space, the value is considered elsewhere. So like open space is owned by the town. We're not taxing ourselves. And commercial and apartments, condos and apartments, the value is common. So it is considered to be distributed between the value of that condo that you've purchased. So it's zero
Right.
should be land held in common. Let's just call it that,
Ooh, okay, land held in
Okay.
common. Okay,
whether private or public.
okay,
There we go.
all right, write that
I
before
am.
we forget.
So when we do our
It
assignments,
is very
Sarah,
confusing.
It
are
is.
we gonna not only, so you're gonna give us a block
Yep.
on a spreadsheet, we're gonna have add a column, whatever, that
Yeah.
says,
Yes.
not zero. And what we individually might recommend, just to start the discussion.
As the assignment. Yeah.
Sarah, just 2 things. Where is the instructions on how to read your vision card on the website? It was there. I can't
Oh,
find it.
no, the website, no. We almost got
Well,
done.
I just wanted that. I mean, I know you put that together, right, Sarah?
I I don't know where it is. I
Read.
I don't, but I have a Board of Assessors meeting tomorrow. You're welcome to come and comment on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I found it through the search. Vision card. How to read your vision card. Okay, I found that. Yeah, yeah, it's very embedded.
I
The other thing is, can you pull um I mean, I don't know if you're in a place that you can do the 120 Sunset Lane.
so
Uh,
you guys I don't know if you saw this on this little app. There's a search button up at the top.
mm-hmm,
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Hang on. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah,
You see this button right here, this magnifying glass?
yes.
Where? No.
Right
Oh,
under
yeah,
the
okay.
finger, yeah.
Yep.
You can find any property by typing that in.
Okay.
But on this spreadsheet or in the vision, can you get to vision from there? No,
No, you got to go to
no,
Vision
okay.
and type
Just
it
go to
in.
vision. It's easy, it's easy.
I didn't link
Right.
to Vision. It's a
Search
whole
on
other
Vision.
database.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm just curious to how that property escapes one, like at some point, like
Because it's considered to be
Ah,
baked into that condo sale.
right, yeah.
yeah, but people that are on one, they're paying a premium. And
Well,
And
but again, go look at
presumably,
vision. Go look at vision, and when you look at that property, because I have the same concern in it, and that's why I
Yeah.
looked at it. It's like, holy cow. But when you look at the value of that property, it's quite high. So they're just paying in a different way. They're just
Yeah.
finding the assessment value in a different method.
gotcha.
yeah, it is really.
Well, what's hard,
Yes.
even on the access, going on through the GIS, when you click on things that are privately owned, it just comes up as the block, right? Like, can I share my screen?
Oh, yeah, let me, hang on.
Yeah, condos and apartments are tricky on vision. It's hard to find all the information.
Right, and that's the part that
It's not that simple in general. That piece of property is, but other ones are not.
Huh. I just did it so multiple participants can share.
okay.
Um,
All
I
right,
just
so
I
I'm
can't
gonna
seem to find my
share the
unshare
screen.
button.
Okay. So when you click on the property, unless you have the person's name,
Hmm.
oh, you click on the unit,
Yeah.
and then you have, what do you,
No, you just click on the property
yeah, you click on the property, you
and
get
go
something,
go to vision property card now.
okay. And it comes up the vacant land,
So it's just given the land piece of it.
right?
That's what I'm saying. It's not all that easy.
Right, so I
There's a-
think if you click on the unit, then it's something else.
Okay, good. We all learned something here.
But it's one and not three. Like, there's 2 units there, right?
I think there's 2 units there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
one
says
in 01 and
101,
102, right.
but it only shows one. It only shows Jeremy Stanley McNiff trustee, but when you click on the unit, it says Benson, Jerome Benson. I'm assuming that's one of the units and not
Yeah.
all of them. And
Go-
then
Go down, see, does it go down any further? No?
here.
Yeah.
Condo.
Condo, Jeremy, yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah. And the same
Mhm.
thing happens when like, I know I was looking at let's see, Burge, where's Flat Hill? What? Same thing happens when you click on, like, Cortland,
Mhm.
it's easier because they are separate, uh,
Right.
like the individual units are separate, but the Woodlands, it's not.
Yeah, it's like like when it's one building, or it's a building on
Yeah, so the Woodlands
parcel,
list
you don't
here,
see the individual.
Well,
you don't see the individual, so you don't know whether, like, there's no way to evaluate them the same way. So it's just much harder way to find this, this information.
But the individual owners for condos, I do know, receive their own bills.
Right. No, yeah, I mean,
But
it's,
it's hard to find that other information. I don't have
yeah.
that.
it's not
No,
simple.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I was trying to see how to find that information,
Yeah.
because even these units are going to be multiple. There's more than one in this unit, but we are only seeing one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So
All right.
all right.
So
Okay, so we
my homework is to send you the spreadsheet with a column to recommend. And you can recommend which ones. I'm gonna write up this list as I understand it of, roughly what we
Yeah.
think those codes
Good
are.
start. That's a good start. Yeah.
And can we try to share our spreadsheet results before the next meeting to each other? So we can look at, like,
Yeah, we can.
I might be able to, I'm not promising anything, it depends on when we get it. I might be able to adjust this map that we have to reflect our ideas. Might.
I certainly can get it to you before the meeting.
I don't know what my next week, between now and next week, is going to look like, but I might be able to do that.
Okay.
And then we can talk about it.
okay.
Thank you. This is a lot to
Okay.
sort through.
No, not a problem. What is the expectation from the assessors in terms of when they get the answer or our recommendation?
Well, they really would have liked me to accomplish all of this by November.
All of
Physically,
this being, all this being the zero, dealing with the zero?
they'd like us to figure out zero.
Okay.
There is some desire to reopen looking at 1A and 1B. It's frustrating to look at those because what's the difference between a 1, a 1A, a 1B?
That's the question.
Yeah,
That's the whole assignment.
that's
Right.
what,
Well,
$1.5 million question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally, I think the more important question is how to get the appropriate assessment, because clearly 1A, 1B, 1A and 1B is not consistent with neighborhood idea or goals. You can't have neighborhoods that have so few places, you're not going to get any qualified sales. So
Well,
it's
and that's
ridiculous.
And I think that's why the previous assessor made them all ones.
Well, there was no differentiating in anything.
But he made them all ones, but then there was nothing to account for differences in the property in terms of slope or style, all the things.
Yeah.
But
Clearly there are. And
there are.
That's what I think we need to think about is
There
because
are.
it shouldn't be in the neighborhood though. I think it should be in the
underneath it. Yeah.
underneath the neighborhood in the conditions or whatever.
The conditions.
Right.
And it's hard to tease that down further with not having our other neighborhoods adequately defined.
Yes, let's start there.
In my opinion, I mean, like we haven't even looked at 3 this evening because it's just disheartening.
Right. It's overwhelming. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Is there a way to see how many properties are in either in these neighborhoods?
If I click on,
Sarah told us that.
Is it a right click?
Do I remember how to do that right now? Hang on. Let me click off 2 and 0. I click on 3. And no.
I can tell you
I
because I
forgot how I did it last time. Tell me.
Okay, so in
My
I don't
brain.
know how many, are in zero. I think you mentioned that earlier. Did you have that number?
There were
Sarah?
45 in zero.
45? Great. Okay, so now I have a complete
Where
list.
did I put it? I had
So-
So how is it, Carl?
Sorry?
How do you see how many properties are in each of these categories?
Oh, you don't. I don't know who sent it out. Sarah, maybe someone. But
I had it written down somewhere, but
in zone one, there's
Yeah.
neighborhood one, there's 268. In 1A, there's 165. In 1B, which is ridiculous, it's 32.
I
In two,
I
there's
did count 'em up,
175.
yeah,
In three, there's 2,675.
yeah.
In four, there's 667, and in five, there's 396. So you can see that, you know, I remember Brian say we shouldn't have less than 400, and I think he's right because of qualified sales
In the neighborhood.
in the
Yeah.
neighborhood. And
Yeah.
and if you take the 1A, 1B, you about get there.
Yeah.
This is to calibrate the qualified sales last year. In 1B, there was one qualified sale.
Yeah.
In 1A, there were two.
Yeah.
So you can't.
Yeah.
Anyway,
There's a
good
lot
meeting.
of challenge with last year.
Hmm.
Getting the data even.
What's more challenging today is finding it. I had it all like I'm just going crazy looking for these spreadsheets.
I don't
Yeah,
have anything
good.
good to say about that right now. Um, or anything productive.
Okay.
It's a work in progress, and it's just taking a while to get it right.
We'll
Right.
get
We'll look
there.
forward to those. We'll look forward to our assignment, Sarah.
All right, I will send that out as soon as I can.
All right.
Thank you very much, both of
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
All
You
right,
take care.
I
take care.
Have a
appreciate
good
it.
night. Good night, Anna.
You too.
Good night,
Right.
Carl. Good
Bye.
night, Sarah.